So today is a really different webinar than we normally do. Spence and I have actually we attended a seminar, I guess, 3 different speakers on lean startup. And the music from the Mac shutting down made it really, whoa. And so lean startup, those of you who are not familiar with it, it's kind of a movement that's going on. It's really changing the way how businesses are created. A lot of businesses have been started this way through Silicon Valley. And any businesses that are going out there looking for venture or angel funding, it's no longer the mode of delivering this 48-page business plan and all these assumptions and a 5-year financial plan and all this crap that VCs no longer want to see. One of the exercises that happened during that webinar or that seminar was actually talking about a method of doing a business plan on one sheet of paper called the business model canvas, which was a really, I had seen that already. I already had the books that they were talking about, but I think it was an eye-opener for both of us as we went through the exercise there at the seminar as far as the monetization model of some of the different real-world companies that he was describing. So let's get started. It's not only about the apps and Social Traffic Lab and offline consulting, but also about startups and what we learned from that event, as well as these latest smaller groups that we've been attending here in Salt Lake, how that applies to you and how that applies to our business at Social Traffic Lab.
Definitely, it's completely changed the way that businesses are run. And I think it started back with the 4-Hour Work Week, which is a book by Tim Ferriss. It came out in 2007, and for me, it was one of those eye-opening books that made me say, "Oh wow, this is kind of the new commodity of life, that I can go and have a designer life and that I can have a business working from any location at any time selling any product or service." And from that, it somewhat revolutionized the way that the underground world, how people were doing things, became more mainstream.
And it really opened my eye, I think, too, for a couple different things. One is actually testing an idea with like Google AdWords. So coming up with an idea, creating to see whether or not there's actually a market for that product by running advertising very cheaply through Google AdWords, at least cheaply at that time when this book came out. A little more difficult now, but Facebook is probably like the new AdWords for that type of model of testing things out, testing book titles. Basically, that book title was determined by an AdWords campaign. Also, the second part of that was once you have an idea and you know that there's an audience out there of actually developing that product, as well as managing that whole business through outsourcing, building a team or finding a team that already exists and plugging that business into that team. The next book there, Rework, was more about coming up with an idea and implementing that idea very quickly, very easily, and building a business from scratch by starting with this idea and implementing core principles and not going through all the traditional things that you might be told at Chamber of Commerce or other things like that that help small businesses start. It's really about focusing on individual needs, working with your customers to actually find out what your customers need. This book was written by the founders of 37 Signals, which is known for Basecamp and High Rise and all those different products that a lot of us use in running our online business. And they created those products out of what they needed for their own business. It started, 37 Signals started as actually a design company, a web design company, working with local businesses. And while working with local businesses, just like you and I are doing, they found different tools that they needed, so that's how they built Basecamp, and all the different tools was based on what they needed within their own business. The next book is Business Model Generation. This introduced the world to the business model canvas. This book was actually written kind of as an open source type of thing. There's many, like hundreds of contributors to this book, and actually testing the principle of the business model canvas of actually using that one sheet of paper to go out to find who your customers are and what their need is and how to deliver those needs and the different aspects that you need to actually define that business on one sheet of paper.
And it was created and orchestrated by Steve Blank. And Steve Blank is kind of a synonymous name within Silicon Valley area for being a man behind the scenes. He works with the Stanford School of Business. He's a very high-level thinker, and if you kind of get a clue of what businesses have come out of Stanford School of Business, is some small companies like Google. Huge stuff. And Steve has been representative of many of those things. And the next book, Nail It, Then Scale It, is actually one of his students, and that's Nathan Furr. And so what he did is he took his pieces from the actual business model generation. And the reason why we have all these books up here is because these books are actual turning points that have changed how this is affecting both the Silicon Valley tech worlds and how it's also affecting the local marketing worlds.
Yeah, and business model generation was actually by a student of Steve Blank, Alex Osterwalder.
Yeah, Alex, who spoke.
Yeah. Steve Blank was the Epiphany book.
Before Epiphany. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so then Nail It, Then Scale It, and then Lean Startup with Eric Ries, kind of just spinning off of all of that as well. And Eric's, a young entrepreneur that had been working in the corporate world and then moved into the startup world and started IMVU. Robert posted a question there if we've heard of Work the System, and I have heard of Work the System. I found out about that through another marketer, and I believe that's written by Sam Carpenter. And I've been through about half of that book. I really like the format of Rework, how it's easy, small chapters, the same thing, 4-hour work week. Sam really talks about the story of his businesses and how he's replicated those and built the systems within that in order to manage his call centers is what his businesses were over the last 10 years. And that's what he talks about, Work the System. And so then the next step is what all this means to you.
The Lean Startup is how each business should be run.
Right.
And is how on local businesses. And the reason why is because everyone is turning to the internet, they're turning to social, and then besides internet, social, and all of that, because we're entering into this global economy as consultants, when we're speaking with businesses offline, it's ever more important to be able to acquire customers, know what that customer is worth, and then to be able to repeat that system. So in our webinar today, we're going to be using a lot of the .com and a lot of these new startup language. We're going to be using a lot of these examples. It's also going to be talking about your offline businesses, so that we hope as you walk away from the meetings today, you have a greater insight and you have some more tools in your toolbox. Notice we didn't start out with 15 minutes of this is Kevin and this is Spencer and this is why we think we're cool. This is about you.
All right.
So let's really continue to jump in.
So what we're covering, we're going to be talking about some of the new rules, at least the new rules for us from Silicon Valley to local, so local marketing, local business. The tools for predicting a business opportunity, the two biggest startup problems, and where the profit channels are right now, and then cashing in on those profit channels as well. So let's start with this photo of the experiment. This was brought up, Steve Blank brought this up. Steve actually is a professor or guest professor, lecturer at Stanford.
He's the man.
He's the man when it comes to lean startup. And within their program there, they actually go through much like what some people are going through now here in Salt Lake called Startup Weekend, but there it's over a semester course where they're actually going through the business model canvas and using that business model canvas to define, come up with an idea, go out, get outside the building, and actually talk to customers to see whether or not that idea is really a good idea and whether or not it's solving the problem that is the true problem that they're having. And with this group of students, they were actually started, their idea was to create an autonomous vehicle, an actually autonomous lawnmower to go out and mow large tracts of land like golf courses on its own without being manned by another person. And they thought, oh, oh my God, this is going to be awesome. It's going to be this billion-dollar idea or million-dollar idea.
And so they, as a class, they broke up into groups, and they were forced to, or I shouldn't say use the word force, but they were split up into groups to come up with a business model, plan, test it, and then actually be able to implement the thing that sells.
Right.
If anyone has done anything in the technical world as far as like building an autonomous robotic unit, that's something that usually takes a long period of time. And they thought that they kind of had it nailed in the bag, that they're going to go and approach golf course markets.
Right.
And this is what happened, and we're going to speak about this as we go on through the presentation. But there's several steps, and here's where they messed up, and maybe you want to talk about that.
Yeah, and so when they went out and they actually got outside the building and started to talk to golf courses and different places that they thought needed this autonomous vehicle, this autonomous lawnmower, you know, it was going to cost a lot of money to get this autonomous lawnmower. And so you talk to a golf course, they say, okay, yeah, I can replace my groundskeeper, my guy that's out there mowing the lawn, running the lawnmower. That's going to save me maybe $60,000 or $80,000 a year at most. And the lawnmower was going to cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. So the payoff for the golf course was going to be 8 years, 10 years down the line, possibly for buying this this automated lawnmower. So they went back and they found that their idea was not the idea that they needed. So they went back to the drawing board, back to the business model canvas, and reworked it and said, okay, what else could we create that could be autonomous like this, but it could actually help or have a lot higher return. And what they had thought of was actually a weed puller. So they actually started going out and talking to organic farms. In that area, there was actually a lot of organic farms. There's a big farming belt within California. And what they found out is these farmers, since it's organic, they're actually hiring people to go out and pull the weeds. Even though it's migrant work, it's a lot of people involved, and it's a lot of legal issues involved and everything else involved with it, that it would save them a ton of money and a lot of work as well to have something that simply just went down the rows, was able to pull the weeds and everything. And so they came back and they had hit gold. They had finally found the actual idea that made sense, that had a profit model in it, that had a problem. The organic growers need to be able to get the weeds out of the fields without ruining the crops and without possibly hiring all this additional staff and everything else. And so when they went back to the drawing board, they identified that to Steve, and he said, great, now you need to build me a prototype, and it's due next week. And they're like, what are you talking about? This is robotics and automation and all this different things. We can't do this in a week. We said, all right, well,
you'll get the most dreaded thing that's never been done at Stanford University. It's something that everyone freaks out about. And what Steve said is, you guys are going to get a B if you aren't able to actually perform. And I don't know what that means to Stanford grads. It probably means that their parents take away their trust fund, or maybe the BMW has to be put in the garage for the weekend. I don't know what that means. But they were pretty high achievers, and so they went through, and they actually got this built. And
they got this built within a week. They actually took it out to the fields and started doing proof of concept with the farmers, and the farmers loved it. They're now, I think you said they are venture funded now.
They are venture funded, and so after the semester was over, the group of guys went through and they formed a company, and they're actually doing this. So
right, they're actually building it
to action. So on the next slide that we're speaking about here is the things that they learned. They learned that everyone is not your customer, because they try to go after golf courses and property maintenance companies and farmers, and then they tried to go off of the mowing, then they went and dived into the actual weed picking and things like that. And so they realized that by focusing their abilities and their talents and their core energy onto one thing, that one service was able to be better. And then, as you can see, and maybe you want to talk about the branding piece to this, but there's so much out there about branding. And while branding and positioning is important, we've probably all read the book by Jack Trout and Al Reese, and we've read so many other books out there. You want to cover that piece, Kevin?
I think branding really comes later, because in order for branding to work, there needs to be something that you need to have, satisfied customers that know you. You need to have the social proof. You need to have this base to build the brand upon. These startups, the people that are just getting started in offline consulting, our business with Social Traffic Lab when we started out as well, it was about listening to the audience, verifying what our assumptions were for a solution for that audience based on what we're hearing that the problems are. And then once we have that verified and they said, yes, that is exactly what I need, to go ahead and sell that solution to them.
And that's so true. There's no point of branding if you're not doing the most important thing. And the most important things are, one, is actually talking to that audience, finding out what they want. And that's where Kevin and I got as we're here in Salt Lake City. We were able to meet with some angel investors. And here at the Social Traffic Lab, we are not looking to become investor funded. We're not looking to become this next giant startup or anything like that. However, there are things that we can learn. And it's funny because as we were talking with the angel investors from Boom Startup, the guys that have been involved with giant companies like Novell, Adobe, other companies like, what was that company Josh Jackson sold?
Well, Zag is also sold now.
Yeah. So, I mean, we're talking big companies, billion-dollar companies. And
it was in that audience. I mean, it's a small group, probably 30 people in there. And the previous person that started Zag, if you're familiar with iPads and iPhones and the little coating, which actually the material originated from helicopter blades. The coating that they're putting to protect the screens on. The guy that created that company, Zag, that sells that you see in all these malls and everything, was there in the room with us as well. He's looking for a validation of his next idea.
And we were, he and I were talking after the meeting, and it was just him asking me questions about apps and about Facebook, and it was amazing to see this, this company is so large, coming to me about apps.
Right.
And I thought, no way, I thought this guy was so tuned in, he was so key. So here's what happened. As we're talking with the angel investors, we're all going through, and we're going through hypothetical scenarios of, okay, so here's a potential venture that I want to do. And, we've been digging in the mud for 45 minutes as a group. And one of the angel investors stands up, and it was almost like someone just put a match underneath his chair.
Because we were actually going through the business model canvas for one of the people that had been in Startup Weekend, and was actually for a business that is doing a website
in the real estate industry.
In the real estate industry.
And so this is what he does. He stands up, and you want to tell them?
You can go ahead.
Okay. He stands up, and he's like, you guys are just getting it all wrong. He's like, here you are just wasting time, and I see this happen every single time I'm with a group. You guys are trying to solve the problem.
Right.
But you don't even know what the problem is. Here you are, you're assuming that these are the problems, but nothing that you guys have done is verified. And he kind of ripped us.
And once we talk about, we'd identify a problem, but then all of a sudden the discussion would turn into solving that problem. And until you actually verify that problem exists and that audience exists that you're trying to target, it's futile.
Yeah, we seriously got ripped apart by it. And so, as a class, is this, small group of people, we went through and we started getting back on track. And then as everyone left, I was talking with him afterwards, the angel investor. And it was funny, and, we were, speaking of how our social traffic lab is done, and speaking of the services and offerings that we have. And, I think he was pretty proud of what we've done.
Mhm.
And I'm saying, you know, look, we're not
He
really
had, he
looking
had
for
started a software company as well that created content management systems for schools.
and there's something I'm going to have Kevin talk about in just a minute that he mentioned to us that was mind-blowing. I think you guys will need to know about how he stuck to his guns. But so this is what he said. He said, look, guys, he said, if you don't need venture money, don't get it. Like, stay away from venture money as much as possible. And I think the same goes for you guys as offline consultants. Don't look for partners if you don't need them. Don't, you know, we've seen so many times where people say, oh, I'm not technically gifted, so I need to hire a developer, and what I'll do is I'll give them a percentage of my business.
They talk about that in rework also.
Don't do it.
Yep.
Like, just go through and hire it out or find a way to make it happen, but don't give away your business. Don't give away the farm. And he said, but if you do need money, get as much as you can. And it was really eye-opening to see from his point of view. And so as we were talking about his venture that was, you know, hundreds of millions of dollars, he said a statement that was absolutely eye-opening, and I hope this helps for you guys. As we're talking, he's saying how during their I guess this is probably a couple years ago, as the model was taking place in his industry on that school
Because
platform,
there was competitors coming up, and so
more and more competitors came.
yeah.
And what happened was his model was a subscription model, and they were charging people month by month. And their competitors came in, and they were offering the same service for free, but they were taking an ad share. So they're kind of going, for lack of better terms, we'll say the AdSense route.
Mm-hmm.
So they're trying to make money off of ads. Well, the disadvantage to that is there's no real incentive to make your product better because no one's paying you. Because you're just going off of ad revenue. So they're the ones that are actually putting money in your pocket. And so this is the change, the transition that happened. And maybe you want to talk about that, Kev.
Yeah, and so as everybody was going with the advertising model, the dot-com boom or dot-com bust came about, and all the advertising money vaporized. And so all of his competitors folded while his subscription-based model remained. And that's how they still weren't making anywhere near what they were during the boom, but they were able to survive. And he also said, you know, that there was many times during that advertising, the boom, when the people were doing the advertising model, that many people offered them millions and millions of dollars to buy him out and implement that same advertising model. And it was totally against his principles in that business and why that business was created that he didn't sell out for those millions of dollars. And if he did, those companies that company would be out of business as well.
They wouldn't have survived.
And he just recently sold out of that business, and now is looking for a new one.
For a pretty big chunk.
But the other interesting part of that was when he talks about selling out and taking his golden parachute was, you know, looking back, even though he's got that money, he's now looking for the next opportunity. And while he's looking for that opportunity, that money is going down, and it's every month a little bit is being taken out of it. Where he much would have rather had just the recurring income coming in from that subscription model in hindsight. But of course, you know, as a serial entrepreneur, as I'm sure he is, that he was looking for something new to get the fire going again.
Definitely.
So it's cool.
So it was eye-opening. Now this next slide is actually one of my favorite, and he's such a remarkable athlete. Mike Tyson. Everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face. I wish I could imitate the Mike Tyson voice, but I'm not going to do it on a live webinar. It's so true. And we're not here on this webinar to develop like this solid bulletproof plan or anything like that. But what we do want to talk about are some of the problems that we as online entrepreneurs or offline consultants that we face. And I think from reading several books, going through courses, and the businesses that I've owned, I think those two biggest problems are innovation and speed. And the reason why is because unless you are being innovative in some way, some form or fashion, and taking action with that, you're not going to know what customers think, what products think. I mean, a person can sit at home and they can design the best looking website that's out there. But unless they actually take action, or they can design the best looking business card, but unless they hand that to someone, it does no good at all.
And I think the two of these actually tie together, because if that innovation is going to prevent you from going to the market in a within a short period of time, or did I say that right? If innovation is going to prevent you from going to market in a short period of time to get into that market, then you need to identify what is the minimum amount that you need to do in order to get into that market. What we talk about is the MVP, and we'll talk about that later with the minimum viable product.
So I think one of the reasons why it's nearly impossible for offline marketers, and especially for us in this internet marketing world, from the Tim Ferriss 4-Hour Workweek forward, we're in this new area. We're in the Wild West. And so you can see all the different services that you can provide as an offline consultant, or websites you could build, Facebook pages, Google Maps, SEO, social media management, video, WordPress, web design, logo, branding, press releases, mobile. I mean, there's so many things. And the problem with that is it's overwhelming. And the conversation that Kevin and I have had with other people that are very experienced, that run high 6-figure, 7-figure, 8-figure businesses, when a person asks them, hey, what should I do when I'm starting out? Ultimately, what we've seen is a different answer from each person. And so this conversation actually happened last week. Someone said, I overheard a consultant speaking inside a coffee shop pitching a customer. And he was saying, let's start you out with Google AdWords. And he thought, oh my gosh, really? Like, what a horrible piece of advice. And another well-known industry expert jumped in and said, oh, I'd start him with SEO. And then another person said, oh, I'd start him with YouTube. And then another person jumped in and said, I'd start him with Facebook.
Yeah.
And it was this vicious cycle of, oh, you should do this, or oh, you should do that. And it got to the point where it's overwhelming, where a person wouldn't know what to do. And so maybe one of I do actually have a poll, what I'm going to ask, is I want to know, like, how many different services do you provide? Because you're out there working, you're in the trenches. We'd love to know how many different services you're providing, so that it helps know what your focus is. And so far, we've had, let me see the percentage so far. We've got 28% that have voted, 31%, 33%, so the number's climbing. So I'm going to give it 3 more seconds, then I'm going to shut the poll down.
And even for you that aren't providing services, it's really interesting to take a look at this list of different things, different things that you can offer, and think about, how many WSOs you've actually bought in the last week and stuff, or not last week.
So we're going to share the results. 24% is the winner of 2 services, and that's good. That's the laser focus, and it's the targeting right there. And Kevin, you make a really good point, because I think what feeds the offering of all the different products is because we're able to consume so many different products. And so,
well, it's also it's the same scenario where we talked about that coffee shop scenario, where everyone on Warrior Forum, or everyone that is teaching anything in internet marketing, all has their own idea of what you should be doing and what you should be focused on, or what you should be working on everything within your business.
Yeah. So the question is, how many WSOs have you purchased in the last 12 months?
Okay, so the last year. Yeah.
So the last year. And so, we've got, again, we've got 30% that have voted, 34, 38, 39, 40. Okay, this is climbing up. This is actually a more active poll than the last one. Okay. Oh, funny. You guys will be amazed by what the winner is. And I'm going to share it with you. Again, every single poll that we do, we share it with you guys. We're going to give it a few more seconds.
It's a close race there, actually.
Yeah, it is, actually. 56% have voted. Let's see if we can crack the 60% on this. Get a couple more votes in.
Come on, guys. Stop watching Twitter and Facebook and stuff. There you go.
We cracked 60%. Okay, and I'm going to close the poll and share this with you. Look at that. 30-plus WSOs.
Now, but it was a close race with the 10 to 20.
It is.
So that's good.
So, but what comes of this, if you see those stats, is every single time you buy a WSO from a different person, you're put on their email list. And then all of a sudden, their method is the best method that you should follow. Or every single time you purchase a WSO and you go through their training, even if it's about the same subject, it's going to vary. And that is why it's nearly impossible for people to succeed, is because they're having to just become totally and completely inundated with all this information. And so, to go forward and talk about, Kevin and I, the reason why we got into this world of internet marketing was for freedom and was for creating this last venture of the Social Traffic Lab. So there's Mr. I call Kev Dr. Davis around.
I am not a doctor, though.
You could be one of those holistic doctors. You could be,
I stopped at a bachelor's degree. I do not want to have anything.
You could be the Facebook doctor.
Yeah, right.
There you go. And that's me. That's actually one of the self-titled album covers I have.
Spencer Thugshaw.
Exactly. Enough of us. We're not here for us. We're here to talk about you guys. But here's where we messed up with our business. Because we didn't have that business model or canvas when we started. We fortunately followed two important things. We were innovative as hell, and we took action. Mm-hmm. And we took a lot of action. We worked very long hours, and we worked as much and hard as possible. I'm actually going to put Kevin on the spot right now. He doesn't know this question. What's one of the big learning lessons you've had from the Social Traffic Lab?
Yeah, you put me on the spot.
Of course I did.
I think it's really about, one of the lessons, it was really about listening to our customers and stuff. And when we created, our memberships, our silver, gold, and platinum memberships, and the whole reason why we created that was the idea of having this inner circle of people, because I think we knew that we needed to have, a good feedback loop. When they talk about the feedback loop within Lean Startup, we needed to have an audience that was out there using our products, that had a very tight connection with us, that was able to voice their problems and their different needs with us, and to be able to have that. And that Facebook group that we created to support those memberships has really been a tremendous community. And people said, well, I'd rather have a forum, or I'd rather have this, or can we get on a Skype call? Really, the Facebook group has really been the best community that we've been able to create. And we're able to not only communicate with you guys and have you guys communicate back with us, but you guys are communicating within each other and helping each other, and it's been a huge impact, I think, for everyone involved.
Mm-hmm. Definitely has. We as an organization are growing into that next phase where we're working with more staff. We're developing more systems, more of a bulletproof, predictable type of thing. However, we are not ever going to lose focus of the most important thing, which is you guys, and that feedback of you and being verified on our ideas. And for example, and we're going to talk about this in a few minutes, Social Review Plus wouldn't have happened if Donna Hamer hadn't mentioned it.
Right. I didn't know about the change coming out.
Yeah. And so that's where it's done really well for us.
And that was a very much a scenario where speed came into place, because I think we had 4 days to get that.
Yeah, it was a couple days.
Yeah, something like that. It was built over a weekend and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, and so that's again, we just want to hit home. Two things that you can get are innovation and speed. And
the other lesson I haven't completely learned yet, I knew it launching this update to Video Time Bomb, and actually one of our members from Germany or Switzerland, Lars Falk, I think it was, from Germany, messaged me about how to change text down there that I hard-coded in there. That the other direction that we're taking is to have everything to be multinational, to be able to have a translation file so that you can have it in whatever language you want for all of our apps.
Yeah. So I think a lot of times by doing the speed and the innovation, what it does is it really just puts you in the right place at the right time. So if you've been following the news, you've maybe heard of this guy, David Cho. Let's see by raise of hands if anyone has heard of this guy. So just quick raise of hands, and then we'll see what this is. So we've got a few. George knows who he is. Lee does. Johan. Sorry about that. Pablo. Okay. So I'm going to tell the rest of you guys who do know. Okay, there we go. We got the comments. And that's exactly right.
Yeah.
Exactly right. That's who he is. Facebook millionaire. He's a.
And we had talked about it that in the email last week and the email earlier this week too, that 1,000 millionaires were created in Facebook last week, right?
Exactly. So this is what happened. This guy was hired, David was hired to go and do the graffiti and artwork at Facebook. And after doing his work there, and this is startup phase, Facebook offered to pay him $60,000 for his art. And he took the gamble or the wise decision, whatever you want to call it, to say, nah, you know what? Instead of taking $60,000, I'll just take some stock. Takes the stock and he continues to live his life and do all the other things he does. And now that Facebook has become this behemoth, it's estimated, I've heard on the low end of $250 million. I've heard on the high end $500 million. That's called being in the right place at the right time. And that is an incredible thing. Now, there's another phenomenon that's taking place in our internet marketing world right now, which is the right place at the wrong time, and that's Fiverr. Well, Fiverr is great for us as offline marketers or internet marketers to be able to go and get voiceovers. I mean, our product, we did a product called the Sneaky Search System where we had a voiceover of UK woman, UK man, and US man, US woman. We had their voice, I wrote the copy for it and then had them do the voice work. A couple of years ago, that would have cost us several $100s per piece. It was only $5. Well, I gave them a tip, so it cost more
because I really $10, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like people, one of the girls that I use, I've used her for a while now, and every single time her work's so good that I give her a tip. But it's an industry that has changed, and where Kevin used to be working in the software world, and in the software world, Kevin making a ton of money. Now, for all intents and purposes, that industry has changed, outsourced, and there's not as much money there.
Right, and there's a lot of, and it was kind of, I don't remember the years anymore, but I mean, there was this big boom of Java developers, and Java rates were, anywhere from $90 to $150 or more if you're a consultant. As an hourly wage, and just huge salaries as well as a salaried employee. And then all of a sudden, everyone started studying Java, and everyone got into IT courses in the college and stuff, and it flooded the marketplace. And once it flooded the marketplace, all those rates went down. And at one point, I remember Java programmers getting about the same as Visual Basic, which is kind of like the very rudimentary programming compared to Java. And of course, it depends on what their skill set is. There are Java programmers that have a much higher skill set that still get paid a lot more during that period, but for the most part, the rates really went down. Myself, I was actually involved in a tool, and we kind of called ourselves samurais because it was actually a case tool, a computer-aided software engineering tool that I didn't have to learn the language that was being generated. I just have to learn one language, and that language stayed the same for the 12 years I did it. I didn't have to go out and learn any other languages. And the generator, the code that was generated by that tool, changed as the times changed, and my rates pretty much stayed the same throughout those years for 12 years.
Which is nice. Up, actually. You didn't go through the Fiverr bust.
Yeah, I didn't go through the Fiverr bust.
Yeah, I mean, because
until this latest change, and then American Express finally had to cut their consultants down, and they just stayed with their offshore consultants mainly.
Which, hindsight.
Which was good for me, actually.
Yeah. But here's the deal. Right now, if you go back to that last slide, if you look now, this guy's at the right place at the right time. And offline marketing, what we're doing, especially using Facebook apps and Facebook marketing, is at the right place at the right time. Now, however, give us 6 months in the future, a year. I'm probably more like 18 months, 24 months. You're probably going to see more people jump into the industry, and then you'll start to see prices decline in certain areas, unless you are retooled, unless you are focused, unless you are listening, unless you are getting verified unless you're following sound principles, the normal graphic designer has just been eaten alive by Fiverr. And so really, it goes down to why would small businesses do that? And I think it comes down to the ways that small businesses make money. And maybe this is something you want to cover, Kev.
And so, I mean, there's three main ways how businesses can make more money. They can get new customers, they can charge more money, or they can get customers buying more often. And so, I mean, one of those ways to get customers buying more often is actually with a recurring payment. So maybe a subscription payment type of thing, or to be running coupons and get them back into the business in order to do that. Charging more money, you really need to. I mean, one way to charge more money is to find out what other things that your customers want. If you're a grocery store, and you don't carry a certain thing that a number of customers are saying that they want, they're coming up to customer service saying, "Hey, how come I can't find this here? I can find it over at Albertsons, but I want to do all my shopping at Smith's." By bringing in that other product, they can actually make more money from them as well. And getting new customers, it's actually harder to get new customers than it is to keep your existing customers back and engaging them. And that's why it's really important for small businesses to actually be using things like Facebook as part of their business. And actually, my chiropractor called me today and saying, "Hey, I got this wife of a friend of another business, and she's telling me about what this orthodontist is doing, and that orthodontist is actually, when the person comes into the office and they check in, they're giving them an iPad. And they're saying, hey, here you can use the iPad, kill some time with that, but what we ask you to do is jump over to Facebook, log in, and check in to our Facebook page, and then go ahead and do whatever you want." And so they're getting check-ins while people are in the waiting room for doing that. So we're going to be implementing something similar to that with my chiropractor. We're not only doing that, but also using Social Review Plus to get reviews and manage those reviews within Facebook too with that app as well.
That's pretty brilliant, dude.
Yeah.
Definitely. And as consultants, you make the money the same way. By getting new customers. I mean, it's charging more money or whatever that may be.
And I really think that in the future, I don't know if it's a year from now, 2 years from now, and stuff, you're going to see that flood of the market because a lot of people are looking at how to become an offline consultant, how to do social media management, or how to do web design. They're looking out for alternatives, as some of them are getting laid off, or they're just fed up with the whole corporate environment and want to start their own small business and stuff too, looking for an alternative. A lot of those are going to be really service-based businesses. But I think what hopefully you guys on the call today and people involved with Social Traffic Lab and especially our Platinum members, to look at the tools that we're providing and look at how you can actually use those in more of a subscription model, much like what we're doing as well. And I know when we announced it in the Facebook group that, okay, we're looking more to be like Wildfire and all these different app companies and become more branded corporate apps and different things like that. It was like, oh my God, what's happening in Social Traffic Lab? But in reality, you guys are still this test bed for us. You're still the feedback loop. Basically, you guys are our extended company that we're looking for. You're our R&D department, basically, is what we look at it. So
and it's better because it's you guys get first to market and better price, premium pricing, and things like that.
Yep.
And really, with all startups, there's a couple problems that people face, and what that is you're dealing with the struggles of not knowing what to really do. I remember first starting out trying to do affiliate marketing, and I remember it's like in the office, got my desk that's clean and logged out of my email because I should be productive, and it's like, okay, so what should I be doing now? And it's like not really knowing, and that's a problem with the startups. And however, that process didn't take a while, but the whole process of like spinning my wheels for a long time did. But then the other challenge is not being verified with what the offer is.
So creating that offer, but not actually finding out what the customer really needs.
Exactly.
And this is something, in the training that we did for the system, I talked about my method that I was using in offline consulting of question-based selling, and having that strategy session or my my free session with them and actually finding out where they are in their business, what they're trying to do, and how I could help them do that. That was really the discovery phase of the lean startup, of actually finding out what their problem was and how they see that they're trying to solve that, and then how, from an outside perspective, I can then either advise them or possibly provide them services, because really, as a business owner, they should be focused on their core business functionality, just like I am as a marketing consultant focused on my core business functionality. They should be hiring me as a marketing consultant to help them solve those problems, if I have that skill set within my core focus. If not, then I should be referring them maybe to someone else that they need.
That's so true. I think another giant problem is making that first profitable sell. And the reason why that's so important is because that's the thing that gives you momentum to move forward. And truly, honestly, nothing really matters until you have that profitable sell. It doesn't matter how good your business cards look, your website is. None of that stuff matters. And it happened with my interview with James Reynolds. When I was interviewing James, he's over in Dubai, and we were talking. And the fact of, I said, James, what if you're brand new and you have no experience? What are business owners going to say? And he said, it's never come up. Never came up when I first started out. And it's because he didn't even consider it to be one of the problems for him to face. What was on his mind of the problem to solve was, how am I going to make a profitable sell? And for you as an offline consultant, as you focus on what it is you can do to make that first profitable sale, then the rest of things come into place. And obviously, one time is a good example. And the next step is to repeat that, make it systematically, so that as you've done that, then it's like, okay, good. Now I see that this is something that I can do and I can profit from. And then it also goes into, again, back to this startup mindset of looking at it, and kind of how David was, of being in the right place at the right time. You can, before you even get into the game, you can kind of do some smart things and say, okay, well, maybe I'm going to fish in the right fishing hole before I even start, and I'm going to talk to people and get verified before I try and make a sell. But forget the business cards for now, and forget all the branding and all the other hoopla. I'm going to get the sell.
And you brought up fishing, and actually I'm from Wisconsin and love fishing as well, and grew up fishing. And it just made me think about that as like, we didn't go out for a day for fishing and sit in the same spot if we weren't catching any fish. If we weren't catching any fish, we moved on to another spot. And if we didn't catch any fish for an hour, we moved on to another spot until we actually found out where the fish were. Then once we were catching all kinds of fish, we continued there. We continued to fish that area until we stopped catching fish. Then we move on. If you're not able to close clients, or maybe you haven't identified what your best client is. It could be that you're talking to clients that don't have the money or don't have an interest, or they're already being marketed to so heavily about marketing services from like this franchise or this large company. I mean, like chiropractors or dentists and stuff. There's huge companies that are going out and doing big direct mail campaigns and stuff, and have a package and content already set up for them. It could be a sell that they're not being sold maybe social media stuff, because those companies are still old school and they're not going with that. But you're still competing with, well, I already have a marketing company that I'm working with. Mm-hmm. So it's a tougher sell for them.
So I think there is one amazing fishing hole right now, and that fishing hole is Facebook. And I just see it as the profit giant. I know a lot of you guys here on the webinar have felt the same way, just from emails and from interaction. Can I get a raise of hands of people who feel like Facebook has been that profit giant and foresee that being a profit giant for the next future? I just want to see kind of a little bit of feedback. You can either write in or raise some hands there. All right, Nina's definitely saying that. Lou is saying that. John Drinkwater, Johan's saying that. James is saying that. Glenn, George,
Mark Hughes on the comments
Fred,
too.
Diane. I mean, yeah, Mark Hughes. Yes, absolutely. It's a huge profit center right now, And Scott Reynolds, not a giant, but helpful to get me where I want to be. Oh, Scott, I'm going to have to put you in a headlock when we're done with this meeting. No, guys, there we go. He's laughing. It is a huge profit giant. And the reason why is because, and this is the strangest thing, for giant companies to go out and spend their advertising budgets on a TV commercial or radio, and for them to, I hate to use the word, being stupid enough to not saying, go back to mywebsite.com, but it's like, go to facebook.com/my company. It's like, for real. You know, they're out there advertising Facebook. That is a trend that's never happened before.
Well, and the thing about the conversation this morning with my chiropractor is, you know, for 2 years, 3 years, you know, at least 2 years, he's like, oh, you know, well, I remember several years back, oh, I don't want a computer in there, right? He had a computer. He didn't have an internet connection in the office. Didn't want an internet connection in the office. And then now he has internet, or, you know, a couple years ago he had internet when I checked back in with him. And then now the conversation the last couple of years is, oh, I don't want to be on Facebook. You know, I don't want to see what my classmates were doing or whatever. And it's like, it's not about that. But he said the same type of thing. And it's like, you know, should I get a Facebook page? Should we have this? Should I go out and claim my Facebook page? I said, yeah, but I don't want to have an account or anything. It's like, but the thing is, with the Facebook IPO, Facebook being all over the news and everything, it is completely obvious to businesses now that, okay, Facebook isn't just about, you know, connecting with friends or kids and all this stuff. Facebook now has a presence in the mind of a business owner of a place of advertising and promoting their business, and they're understanding that through Facebook, I'm able to target people as well that I can't do in regular advertising.
Absolutely. And so, I mean, that's why we jumped into this, because we saw that. We saw a huge opportunity at that. However, there was a big problem with the Facebook stuff, which is getting more traffic to the fan pages, and I think we'll cover that in a few minutes.
Right, and we found that through these webinars that we do with our members.
We did. And, you know, what we did is, you know, as we made mistakes, but we still innovated and had enough speed to be able to talk with our customers to go forward. And so on the next slide is talking about the apps that we've created. And most, if not everyone on this webinar, just by essence of the group that we've emailed, has purchased one or more of our apps. And so you guys know what these apps are. And what we want to do right now is talk a little bit about these apps, how using these apps will help you and your business, and maybe as a silver or gold or platinum member, maybe you didn't know you had all these apps. And then we're going to talk about the new app that's coming out next week that's pretty freaking awesome. So Kevin's chronologically, let's start at the very beginning of Amazon app.
Yeah, the very beginning, and I started with a different Spencer in the beginning, Simple Spencer, which is a mutual friend of ours actually, and he had written this penny clicks course on Facebook pay-per-click, and his focus was really affiliate marketing, and he was building these pages using I think like the FBML app or something like that. And he came over to Mastermind at my house. He said, if I could have an app that did this, we drew it out on the whiteboard, then this would be awesome. It would really fit well with the course I'm teaching. It would really simplify my work and everything would just fill out this form and it generates a thing. And at that same time, we were actually going to the SAM event up in Park City, which was like this. It's like TED for marketing, put on by Ryan Lee and the podcasting guy. What's his name? Help My Business Sucks is his podcast.
Oh, what's his name? Andrew Locke.
Andrew Locke. And so they put on this event with the idea that the speakers had like 20 minutes with no pitch, and the products were just in the booth outside and stuff. And so in that event, Mike Hill had spoke, and he had spoke about Facebook and the coming opportunity within Facebook, and that's what his presentation was about. And it's about Facebook credits as well as Facebook apps. And I was like, oh my God, this is awesome. And you and Simple Spencer actually had a conversation with him outside too.
Me and Simple were outside, and we were talking with Mike, and we were talking about all these opportunities because me and Simple were we're over here at your house whiteboarding this stuff. And sorry if we're confusing everyone with Simple Spencer and Spencer Shaw and all that.
Yeah. Someone put in the comments, complex Spencer.
Exactly. And so me and Simple, we were going over this stuff, and it sounds so funny calling him Simple. Anyways, I know. So quickly, Kevin went and created this Amazon app, and did it sell like crazy?
It did. Yeah, it did. But it was really focused towards affiliate products and affiliate promotion of Amazon products. You could use it for other products as well.
And did it help bring in Amazon sales?
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Because it solved a problem. And that app was on Facebook.
Right. And so what that does, it allows you to highlight one main product and 3 other products as well. If I was an offline business, it probably wouldn't be the best app for me to choose to put on my thing. But one of the things that could do is it could actually recommend other books or something like that for their clients to read. You know, so if it was an accountant that you're working with, maybe he wanted to put this Amazon app with different books that would suggest that off of Amazon, and maybe his clients would possibly purchase those from his Facebook page. It might be another way for him to, you know, make a few extra dollars a month or something like that. But at least say, hey, on my Facebook page, check out this tab. There's some recommended books that you can do.
And then the next app was the Squeeze Page app, and that was still with Simple. That wasn't with me.
No.
And the Squeeze Page app was developed and created to help the offline businesses, and to also help online businesses to be able to get email addresses.
And because that's really an asset that you need to be building in your business is an email opt-in list. Being able to actually contact those people through email is an incredible opportunity for you to follow up with them, stay in contact with them, but also, you know, really to be able to, from an offline business, from like a restaurant or a bar or, you know, different things like that, to be able to kind of manage your traffic coming into your establishment. So you can actually send targeted emails a day or two before your slowest day of the week to actually introduce them to different specials that you're offering on that slowest day. And that kind of brought into the second or the third app, their coupon app, where you can actually create those offers, create those coupon codes. Originally, I created a coupon app with the idea of online businesses and being able to run coupons through your online shopping cart, but really the audience that were buying the coupon app was really people that wanted to work with offline businesses as well.
And so that's the part, and that's, you know, the reason why we're kind of going through this. We're kind of we're talking about what worked for us, and we're also picking fun at what didn't work. As we talk about the coupon app, Kevin had built it in mind of helping and servicing an online business, actually one of his clients. However, was it really verified?
No.
No. And so how did...
Well, it was verified for the one client.
Yeah. Yeah. But how were the sales?
They sucked. Well, they didn't suck. It still did well, but it didn't do as well as the first 2. It didn't do as well as any of the ones after that either. You know, this was also one that I was out on my own, right? Mm-hmm. You weren't involved with coupons. So at that time, I had stopped my relationship with Simple. I was out on my own. I created this with the idea based on the need that one of my clients had, and put that out into the warrior market. And it didn't do as well. Partly, I didn't have the partners that I needed in place. So I mean, I'm not a copywriter. I'm not the wordsmith that Spencer Shaw is, and so, you know, it did a technical success. You know, technically, it was an app that functioned, and people bought it and liked it.
But I saw what we had together, and so then Kevin and I created the Time Bomb app, and here's where I messed up, because I hadn't been in the warrior market, and I didn't know this market too well. I'd been on my own projects, and I wrote the copy, the marketing for it, and we came up with the idea for the product, and we took it to market, and it didn't make WSO of the day or anything like that. I think it only sold like 500, and first version was like 586 or something like that, is how many it sold. So I mean, it did okay, but it wasn't like some blockbuster that just went out and killed it. And it's because I didn't know the market well enough. I built it with like my e-commerce stores in mind.
Right. And the idea behind the Time Bomb app is actually provide an introduction video with no marketing. You know, there's no buy button or anything showing up. It's just a video and Facebook comment. So it allows you to connect with the visitor, give them an introduction, gives them the opportunity possibly to comment about the video itself. And then if they actually watch the video all the way through, that all goes away, and then it goes to the offer and presents them to the offer. So hopefully at the end of the video, you're talking about, well, you know, as this video ends, you'll actually see an offer to get more information. And that offer could be a direct sale, or it could be also building a list as well, just like you're doing with the Squeeze Page app. But it's not landing on that page and seeing an opt-in form. It's doing an introduction video and then redirecting over to the opt-in form.
And it works really well. And so once we started to understand what the audience wanted, what did we do? We created a Facebook group. We created a feedback channel, and we started asking, okay, here are the things that we suspect here are the things that you want. Obviously, we couldn't mind read, but from doing surveys, webinars, and everything like that, and we came back and we created the Social Commerce Plus app, which is basically creating your own e-commerce store, your F-commerce store on Facebook, and that just took wind. It just sold well over 1,000 copies. And because of that, it got WSO of the day, got a lot of recognition, and had people building stores for offline businesses and for online businesses. And we hit a home run because we knew what the customer wanted. We had verified feedback of that. And then, you know, we were pretty stoked with that. And so then as the next step you see is Social Review Plus. That came from Donna Hamer. And we really want to give her a lot of credit for going through and the Facebook group saying, hey, this is a change that's happening. And she mentions that change. And so we tested the waters and we said, you know, is this something that's important? We asked other people, and in 4 days or something like that, we had a new app created. And again, that one hit a home run. And, you know, it's because we had that verified loop. We'd already made the cells. We'd already gone through and kind of created a system to it. And then the next app is something that comes out next week. Maybe you want to talk about that, Kevin, because this is really exciting. I'm excited about this app for our business and for clients that I have, and maybe you want to share some light on this.
Yeah, so in theory it's a webinar app, but of course we're not holding like a live webinar through the Facebook app. This is really kind of it's kind of like the next level of Time Bomb, where it's actually an event-based video app. So you'll be able to create, it's kind of like combining the technology of the coupon and the Time Bomb together, where you'll be able to create an event, schedule an event, actually do a lead generation on the front end to get them signed up for the event, so possibly put them into your email list and do the email follow-up to get them back onto the presentation when it's scheduled to go off. You'll then schedule the video for when it's going to show up. If someone tunes into the video late based on your set time, it's actually going to start later in the video. They're still going to have to, because of Facebook policies, they're going to have to click an image, and then it'll take them into the video. The video will start automatically based on that action of clicking that image that says join the presentation. But then you'll also, we're planning on launching this Wednesday?
Next Wednesday.
Next Wednesday. So I'm not sure if first version will have Google Analytics built into it, but the other thing that this is going to be the first app that we're actually integrating with Google Analytics as well, which is really cool. And actually there was a conversation in the Facebook group about video players. Video Time Bomb, the S3 version that just released last week, uses Flow Player from flowplayer.org. This is going to be using Flow Player as well. One of the things that was brought up in that conversation was about the Flow Player branding in the very beginning, and I'm thinking that if we use the image and we use the autoplay, that it may not be seen. I'm hoping even on that. But I think this is really going to be cool. There's kind of an app out there already. It's like 197 setup and 97 a month for FB Webinar. I'm not saying that this is an FB Webinar killer or competitor necessarily, but what this is it goes back to the minimum viable product from Lean Startup. You know, all of these apps, you know, while we say we want to be like Wildfire or Lugier, Lugier is like this thing that you can create your own apps with and different things. And maybe we'll get to that point, but I don't. What we've focused on here is actually creating an individual app that's really focused on a core functionality and just the basic functionality that you need for that app to work and to solve that problem. When we released Social Commerce Plus, and everyone said, well, I want to be able to do data feeds, I want to load thousands of products and categories and everything like that. Really, you don't. Kind of when we created that, I had thought about that, and I was like, really, you don't want to bring your whole store into Facebook. I think that's a mistake. It's overwhelming, especially with the Facebook ADD that people have. So we decided on 12 products with Social Commerce Plus, and that's really, featuring 12 products. 12 products is a lot. Actually, when we feature products on Discount Cardstock, we're featuring at most, I think, about 4 products within our featured products. So that's really what that's about. The same thing's going to be true with the webinar app. It's going to give you the core functionality to be able to schedule a video, create those opt-ins, get people back onto that page, and do that presentation and do an offer from that presentation as well. And the sign-up will probably have a introduction video in the sign-up below is what I'm thinking. And that'll be optional. If you want to put sales copy in there instead, you can do that. The step 2, we're going to actually be using micro-commitments. So they'll be choosing a date, then choosing a time, and then actually do the registration. Micro-commitments, if you haven't heard, the latest going on, they're huge, especially in any kind of opt-in forms or webinar sign-ups. If you can just have people make a small commitment of choosing a date, then choosing a time before they actually give their email address, that's going to really increase your sign-ups a lot, and we're really hoping that does with the webinar app as well.
Absolutely. And then, besides the apps, what we've done is we've gone through and we've created training. So our first training info product was Brand or Die. And that did an awesome, horrible, fiery death. Because
partly because people aren't interested in branding within Warrior Forum.
No, and because I didn't understand the market well enough. For people I associate with, and other marketers and higher end stuff, that's more, it's important. And it was a good product, but it did horrible. And then the next product, we talked a little bit with the group and said, okay, what kind of things do you want? And persuasion pointers came about, and it did
a little bit better.
Well, but I mean, it sold over 100, copies, but it's
Brand or Die was really bad.
Yeah, really bad. But then after talking with,
actually, that was a free
Brand or Die.
Oh no, it was $5 or whatever. Yeah, it was $5. That's right.
And then after talking with our customers again inside of the Social Traffic Lab, our platinum members, and then doing the system webinar series, the system training, what we came up with is the sneaky search system. So we actually created an info product around that, and that one did really well.
And that was really that was really the key when we went through the presentations for the system, and we watched people's reactions to different things that we're talking about on the webinar, and we showed different things. That was really the one thing, the 15-minute segment out of 8 hours of webinars or whatever, more than that actually, probably, that everyone was like, oh my God, this is awesome. And it was. And it solved a problem. I mean, one of the problems that offline consultants have, anyone that's looking to do Facebook services for local businesses, they're like, how do I find the businesses that need my service? And really that sneaky search system is really the way to do that.
Yeah, and so it totally took off. And then the last 2 products are the solution and system, and those have never been offered to the public. It's only been offered to, on webinar. The solution's only been offered on the webinar, and right. To our Silver, Life, and Platinum members.
Right.
And this came about because we were talking with our members, and they said the number one problem they had was driving traffic to their fan pages. And where penny clicks did work and helped in some areas for the general terms of, I love TV or I love golf or things like that, it didn't go deep enough to actually, hey, how do I make money? And solving that solution of making money with Facebook. And so that's what that training course came up with. And then maybe you want to talk a little bit more about that in the system.
And so the system, through the webinars, we found out that 60% of our audience, at least the people that were attending the webinars, were actually offline consultants or wanting to get into offline consulting, but they didn't really know how to start or how to scale their business or different things like that. And both Spence and I have had run offline businesses here, and we've scaled it up and using outsourcing and applying all the different things that we had within our other online businesses into that offline consulting part. We then started to do webinars to build the system as well. And so the solution has now been refined. There's still some modules that are missing out. We've taken
as things update. You know, for example, here's the latest update that you guys will be getting this week. What we found to be really profitable, kind of cutting edge, and it works hand in hand with this app, is being able to drive paid traffic, Facebook traffic, to events on Facebook. And because you get the viral function with that, you're getting super cheap clicks. And
you can still message them in events
you do,
too, right?
Totally.
Yep.
But we lost that under the fan page.
Under the fan page, you lost the ability to message them on Facebook.
So we're still updating new things because, as this market changes, we want you guys to be in the loop. And the system was actually really high end. I mean, that product, when it hits the market, it'll probably sell outside of our typical email list or anything like that. And it's not for sale right now. It's going to start at about $497. We thought $497. It's actually going to start at $997 because it's so high level and intense. But we actually want to admit error on our end about one thing we did with the system in a few minutes that was eye-opening to us, where we didn't get some verified feedback. And the system is like that ultimate training for offline businesses, lead generation and building that business. It goes over outsourcing and like that.
Right, and all of our courses, all of our apps are evolutionary.
Exactly.
They are being updated. They're all being maintained. The apps are being maintained based on changes that are happening in Facebook. Just February 1st, we had a change of how apps are added as well. And that change will be rolling out to Platinum members for the source code members as well. But I know some of you had some other workaround solutions for that Warriors have been putting out as well.
So really the next thing to ask is, what's your experiment? As Steve Blank, the professor at Stanford University, worked with this group of guys for them taking their idea, their concept, and taking that, going to get some feedback and finding out what was the one thing they were going to focus on, and moving through that process. They had to take a lot of action, and I think a lot of this is coming down to you guys as saying, hey, what's your experiment? What do you really want to focus on? And by doing this focus, what's going to lend you the greatest results? And as I spoke about a few seconds ago, the error that we made with the system is we had surveyed people during the solution and during our webinars, and we had said, what is it that you want? And I think our error is that we assumed that people were on second base, kind of already ahead.
That they were already out there implementing and taking action and talking to clients and trying to service clients, and they were just trying to grow that business or systemize that business and different things like that. But there was actually a lot of people that got into the Platinum membership that were just still trying to figure out how to start that business.
And it was almost a little overwhelming going through all of that.
Right.
And so what we did is, after much brainstorming and talking with the angel investors and talking with other people that we know, what we did is we thought, okay, we see that we may have started people on second base. And the solution webinar, the solution training by far is like high level, the best Facebook pay-per-click training out there. So we've got that mapped. But as far as an offline consultant actually building that business, from the ground up and doing it correctly and starting it with speed and innovation and making it happen, you just, starting out on second just doesn't work. And so, that's where what we came up with is called the Offline Startup Guide.
And so I mentioned the MVP before, the minimum viable product, and that's really going to be determining who your customers are. So it's really going to be kind of working through the business model canvas and going through a lot of what we're experiencing here within these startup meetings that we're attending here in Salt Lake, and what we've seen so far, and implementing that within the within the training that we're doing as well. So kind of the missing piece for actually starting up a offline consulting business, or even taking the offline consulting business that you're running now and refining it to be more optimal, more efficient, and more focused. And I know we started the Naturally Productive group up on Facebook, and Spence has been working on that. We've had that discussions within the group as well. And there's been a few members posting tips out of their own each day and different things like that. We knew that from starting that group and listening to people's feedback with that group, we know that people are having a hard time focused and having a hard time of what do I listen to? How do I get control of my email? How do I get control of all these different things? And it really comes down to focus and really being able to dial into who your customers really are, what their problem really is, how you can what solutions you can provide to actually solve those problems, and then going out, and then the next stage is actually go out and verifying the assumptions that we make in that first exercise with defining what the MVP is and what those customers are, verifying that that solution, that product actually solves the problem they're looking for, and then coming back, we're going to be talking about model adjustments. So as we verify that, we're going to look at, okay, this is what we actually found by getting outside the building and actually talking to the customers and saying, is this really your problem, or what needs to be changed? And then we're going to take that and adjust the model, adjust our business model. And then we're also going to look at, when we get into the offer and delivery, we're going to talk about also key partners and different resources we need to run that business as well.
Yeah, absolutely, because it honestly is the startup thing. It's getting up to the plate, swinging the bat, and getting to first base.
Yeah, so this is going to be a 4-part webinar. Mm-hmm. So 4 webinars, and we're going to be including that.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, the webinars that we're doing and is going to be scheduled, I'm pulling up my calendar right now. It's scheduled at 5 o'clock Mountain Time, so 4 o'clock Pacific, 7 o'clock Eastern on the 22nd of February, the 29th of March, or 29th of February, and also on the 7th of March and the 14th of March. And by going through that, it is putting people absolutely in line, ready to get on base and start moving ahead with their offline consulting.
And you're also, I mean, as part of this exercise, you actually work through the pricing of your product as well, which was a huge eye-opener for us when we went through that exercise and actually looked at subscription model versus individual product model and different things like that, and looking at those pricing models and projecting that out. So I think on the group, I don't know if on the Facebook group I included a link to the Lean Launch.
I think you may have, yeah.
Yeah, but we'll have to put that out there as well. Part of that is there's actually a free site that you can go to work with that business model canvas online. I'll share that with the group. And then we actually have an iPad app that we use as well that does the same type of thing. And you can identify what your actual audience is. So, if you're working in a local area, how many chiropractors or whoever your target audience is in that market, and then identify what your pricing and what you're offering as far as your products, and then you can identify what your revenue stream would be and what that would look like. And you can start play around with your pricing to see what that impact is by changing your pricing or changing your pricing model or expanding your customer base and different things. And you can run different scenarios within there and see how those things change.
Absolutely. So this is the next big training piece that we're putting together. We still have a couple sessions of the system to wrap up, which is the higher level product. As far as, once you've got an established business and running with it. This is, if you are internet marketing, as we spoke about earlier, if you're still in that trying to figure out what's the best product I should be selling, or if you're in that, what market should I focus on, what's the vertical, is it a certain profession, or if you've not made a sell yet, or maybe just one sell, but it's not a systematically processed, this is the thing, the offline startup guide. And our full intention of this offline startup guide is to put together this bulletproof program in the 4 weeks, so that just as Boom Startup locally here and Steve's and other angel investors and venture capitalists are going through, systemizing and putting together these, it's this shift, this fundamental shift that's taking place. No other internet marketer is teaching this, because most internet marketers are busy pimping the products that their other partners are telling them to sell, and it's usually one rehash thing over the next rehash thing. And it's, innovation is so far lagged behind. And that's why Kevin and I both consciously made the effort to be involved in this startup society, because that is where the innovation takes place. And then we know that as we share this with you guys, you're a part of that innovation and you're a part of that speed. So maybe, if you want to flip to that next slide, Kevin. What we're doing is, this is a part of the Platinum membership, and that's how we're going to be selling this product.
So Platinum is open again.
Platinum, what we're going to do is Platinum is going to be open for a couple times a month. That's it. Probably a couple days a month. A few things have changed from the old Platinum to the new Platinum, and the price of Platinum is $297. This product is, originally we were going to put each session at $97, so it's going to be $397, but
or whatever 97 times.
Yeah. But what we've seen with many things is standalone products of this standing alone, that value of being the $97, and it's like $24.50 per webinar. So I mean, you have to ask, like, how much is it worth? Now, if you're an existing Platinum member, you already have this. If you're not a Platinum member, then you guys, if you're not a Platinum member, then it's just $97, and maybe you want to cover that for a second, Kevin.
Yeah, so I mean, there may be some of you out there that are like, well, I don't really want to go to Platinum, or I'm not at a stage where I really want to go all the way with the $297. And so we created the free payments as well. Maybe you just want to go through the offline startup guide. Maybe you just want to go through this startup phase and go through the business blueprint with us, and go through those exercises and actually get out and start implementing, taking action with it. I mean, the biggest part about this exercise is actually getting outside the building, like what Steve Blank talks about in his course, and actually, testing your assumptions and actually talking to customers and making those contacts, and then coming back and creating this feedback loop with us and walking through what you experience. If you want to do that, hey, go ahead and take the 3 payments. You can go through it. You have 30 days before the second payment is due. If you decide that all you want to do is the offline startup guide and not go with the Platinum lifetime with all the extra training and everything involved with that, as well as everything else, then go ahead and send us a help desk or cancel it yourself on PayPal, and just keep the training for the offline startup guide for the $97.
Yeah.
And then, one thing that's different, also in the past, we had charged more for the payment plans. This time we are not. You're just doing the $97 today, and then 2 more payments of $100. So it's the same price, whether you want to do the payment plan or whether you want to pay full price, either way.
I'm just answering questions here.
So yeah, the Platinum members are like, oh my God.
Platinum, exactly. I mean, this is...
Every time we do this, the Platinum members are like, you guys are awesome.
So what it is, if you're on the fence or thinking about this product, it's $97. We do offer a refund with all of our products, so I mean, there's no risk at all. And then for the Platinum membership, it's it's $97 now, and then in 30 days, $100 and $100.
Yeah.
And you're in, and you get all of the apps that we spoke about. You get the system training, you get the solution training. So
you get the Facebook group and everything. So just by going into the Facebook group, I know a lot of people have said, the Facebook group alone has been just this savior of me being able to have this community that I can actually talk to whenever I have a question, or if I'm looking for an app, I'm looking for a solution, or I'm having this experience with actually going out, like Marav in Israel, going out and talking to clients, and she's like, well, how do I send them my proposals and my attachments, or how do I structure these proposals, or different things like that. She's able to to post that in the group, and people are chiming in. You see the thread and everybody helping, and we're chiming in there as well. We spend a lot of time in that group. It's active. It shows up on our little indicator on Facebook, just like the Facebook crack, and we have to check and see who's talking and what they're talking about and chime in there and stuff. And so while we do have a support desk up on Zendesk and stuff, we still really help out our members in our silver, gold, and platinum groups that are part of that Facebook group. And it's really our family and our community there. So it's it's like it says, it's platinum lifetime. So you would get the webinar app next week. You have all the other apps that we're releasing, all the other training we've been releasing to the platinum group as well. This is our test bed. So there is training like we did with the solution and the system that we haven't released to the public. We haven't released them as WSOs. We haven't even released them as full courses because they're not ready yet. You guys are still helping us create those, and going through the system training, we identified what was missing with that whole first part of actually getting started.
Exactly.
Partly because we weren't getting started.
And it's the whole jumping on second base. I remember hearing Tony Robbins speak. Most of you, I try and show my pictures of me playing guitar and like all that, just so I portray that I'm cool, but I'm super nerdy. So when I'm driving in my car, I'll listen to a lot of Tony Robbins or books on tape. I'm a huge books on tape person. So, but anyways, I was listening to Tony Robbins, and he said, some people in life wake up on third base, and they look at others and they think, you're not as good as I am, or whatever that may be. And I think we made the mistake in some cases, and we didn't do by saying we're better than anyone. We just looked at it and we said, oh my gosh, we assumed that people were already full time on this offline marketing. And so that's why we created this thing. We went through and we made this training so that it was to get that people started, to get that first sell, to introduce the innovation, and to really be the startup mentality mindset of getting.
And really, it really comes down to thinking about that business and who their target customer really is, and who they want to target, and who they want to work with, and whether or not there's really an audience there. And as far as what you want to offer, how you want to offer, or different things like that. A lot of, there's something to be said to going out there and just, it's kind of like, does Perry talk about going to a bar and asking for a date, or actually walking up to a girl that you don't know and asking you want to get married? It's the same type of thing of just knocking on doors with businesses, But you will eventually, with a business and offline consulting, if you just knock on enough doors, you will eventually get someone to bite. But that's really a hard, depressing way to do it. You kind of want to take a more strategic approach and actually, define. Before you start talking to them, you definitely want to know what you're able to provide, and you want to have some kind of inkling as far as what their problems could be, and put yourself in their mindset. And we talk about this in the system of really differentiating yourself between the other people that are out there sending emails to these businesses on a daily basis from all around the world. You got these link builders from India and web designers from the Philippines and everybody. They're out there scraping email lists from the internet and mass emailing out all these offers to things. Oh, we can build links. Oh, we can do SEO. Oh, we can build a fan page. All these different things, but they don't know anything about that business. They will never know. They will never have a connection with that business owner or anything like that. And that's what we're talking about here, is actually going out and talking to that business, and actually finding out what's actually truly happening in that business. And if it's happening for that business, and let's say they're a chiropractor, like my chiropractor, that is most likely happening for other chiropractors. Chiropractors don't. This one chiropractor on G Street doesn't have a unique problem that is only for that chiropractor. There is most likely at least another one out there somewhere in your area that has that same type of problem and stuff. So it's, a chiropractor might not have the same problem as an orthodontist or different things like that. They'll probably have similar problems because they're in the healthcare industry, but a chiropractor is not going to have the same problem as a restaurant, and a restaurant's not going to have the same problem as a hair salon. Each of these are going to have different problems that they're having as far as marketing their business and basically creating their unique proposition for their customers and getting customers back in the door or like restaurants that we go to here, like Ito's has the loyalty programs with a stamp. They're still using a stamp card. So they have a little physical card that they give you and they're stamping it. It would be so much easier and so much better for them to actually using some kind of online loyalty program where they can actually track traffic patterns and usage patterns. So if they know that we always come in on Tuesdays to Ito's or whatever, they could send us a message through SMS or email or somehow that they can get our contact message, say, hey, when you come in tomorrow, hey, we got a free appetizer for you or something like that.
Absolutely. So we are stoked. I've been answering questions. Looks like overall the group is really excited, and hopefully we're able to get more of people that are actually going out and saying this offline stuff really works, or the startup business really works. And if you intend on doing internet marketing, not even doing offline marketing, this stuff will still apply.
Right.
But we have to laser in and focus on helping one core group of people. And so we're probably going to leave this up just for a couple of days, and that's all. That's our platinum thing. It's going to be
so
up for.
It's Tuesday now, so probably up till Friday night.
Yeah. And that's it. So you can get it at socialtrafficlab.com/OSG.
OSG stands for Offline Startup Guide.
That's right. It's not the OG, right?
OC. What did I say? OC.
Yeah.
Oh.
And then offline marketing, that is, exactly. So glad to have you in here. Then we've got John Drinkwater. Can we get a replay? I hope so. I think it should be on the other computer, so we'll take a look. And then, yes, definitely Kevin needs some sleep and cough drops.
Yeah, my cough is back.
The URL redirects to m/m, is that right?
That is correct.
Okay.
At the bottom, you should see both options of the single payment for $297 or the 3 payments with $97 today and 2 more payments of $100.
All right. And that is, finally, just let me say that one more time. I'll just type in that link for everyone to see. That is socialtrafficlab.com/OSG.
Which will redirect to /M.
And awesome. Thanks, Robert. That's really cool of you. Thanks, man. Really appreciate it. We're glad to have you in here. Really, we've noticed in our webinars we actually talk about a lot of you guys. And,
especially our Aussies.
Yeah. You know what? Shane, are you still on here? Shane, you are, buddy. When we're creating apps or training, we look at it and say, okay, I remember this is something we did, Shane was talking about this, or Donna, or Mark, or John, or Fred, or Mike. I mean,
because it's like the sneaky search system. When that came out on the system, Shane was driving a truck and he had to pull over and stuff.
So we really have been creating these things with you guys in mind.
And we know that we've heard the stories. Part of it is because it all comes out in the Facebook group. It comes out in these webinars and comes out with our conversations with them. Is like with Shane, we know that he's looking to start this offline business to get off the road and stop driving truck and build this marketing business down there in Brisbane, Australia. That was a horrible. It wasn't even nearly an Australian accent.
Yeah. Okay, George. Since you're a platinum member, the platinum members are going to be getting an email with the registration links for every single one of the webinars. So it's not going to be sign up for this one and sign up for the next one.
Right.
You're actually going to get an email, and we've already set the days and we've set the times.
So probably that email will be sent out Friday.
Yeah, it'll be Friday when it closes. Just know that it's going to be next
week.
Wednesday.
Wednesday is the first one.
Let me verify that. Yeah, next Wednesday at 7 o'clock Eastern is when the offline startup guide begins. And so it's pretty cool. You guys will get that. What if you're already a platinum member? Then you are hooked up. Joe, if you are already a platinum member, you get this. That was one of the promises that we made for our platinum members.
So, one of the crazy promises.
Yeah, exactly. So you can see as a platinum member, at $297, you get all the apps, all the training. It's kind of a no-brainer thing. However, as we create more training, more products, what's going to happen? The price is going to go up, and we're not going to offer all of the products for platinum members. We did have to change it down because we were going through that transition of the startup, and listening to our customers and making those changes. John Drinkwater, Wednesday is now STL Wednesday.
And actually, the system training, that's still, we have another system session coming up too for Platinum members, right?
Yeah, we do actually. Glenn, I need the startup guide. So glad.
Awesome,
man. So we are so glad. Thanks, Joe, and we're looking forward to having you in there too. If you guys have more questions, shoot us in the chat box. We'll answer those for you. How was the webinar presentation? We tried to shake it up. We didn't do the typical, this is about me stuff, and we didn't do the guru of pitching a product that sounds like it's brand new, but it's only, it's 2 years old. And we really tried to incorporate a lot of the startup things that no one talks about. I just want to get your guys' feedback as we're going through this. Diane. Thanks, Diane. Marcy, so glad I became a platinum member when I did. One of the smartest business decisions I've made. Thank you. Looks forward to it. Wow.
And one of the things that showed up in the group this morning was Scott Linkletter has integrated Facebook and Pinterest. You've probably seen the news with Pinterest. Pinterest is the new addiction for women. Which is kind of like a vision board online is my best analogy of it. The interesting thing about it, and actually I did this last night, is I set up some new boards, and I've been actually pinning videos. You can actually pin videos as well. They play within Pinterest. So I've been creating Pinterest boards, basically bulletin boards within Pinterest for videos within separate topics. So as I'm going through YouTube and finding different videos for Lean Startup and Eric Reese and the guy from 37 Signals. So the guys from 37 Signals, or the business model generation, the business model canvas videos, different videos like that. I've been pinning those, and so there's actually, I now all of a sudden got a bunch of followers on different marketing things because people have been seeing it based on when I shared my Pinterest post on Facebook. And a lot of people have been really excited and commenting on my Facebook also, as far as sharing those videos with them as well. So Pinterest, I think, is going to be really interesting. We just did an integration with Pinterest and Discount Cardstock because our audience is mainly women, and the projects that our design team is creating with the product from Discount Cardstock is really well. Is doing really well on Pinterest. Desiree was really excited to see all the different shares within hours of us posting different projects up there. And I just created a new custom button that shows up under the images on the blog on Discount Cardstock as well, which I think will be cool. And then I just got a new plugin too that we'll be sending out to the group for monitoring your social media shares as well. One of the big things, and actually my chiropractor even brought it up on the call today too, was search engines like Google are now looking at the social graph or whatever to tell how to rank different websites as well based on social shares and social indicators, because they're collecting all that information now. Because if you're logged into your Google account, they know everything about you. So that even if you're on Facebook and you're doing likes, or if you're doing a like even on another site that has the Google Analytics code on it or anything like that, they know about it. So they're using that for their ranking of sites as well. So anything that you can do to make your content more sociable and to be shared across more social networks, that's going to improve your SEO ranking. SEO is basically dying or completely evolving with social media. And social media is going to become a larger and larger part for both local SEO as well as regular SEO as well. And so this tool gives you a red, green, orange indicator as far as how well it's doing on each of the different social networks that it monitors. And you can actually kind of identify what piece of your content isn't being shared and maybe make some changes to it, or start priming the pump on different social networks with shares And so I've been changing also some different plugins and stuff that I'm using on our blogs, on Social Traffic Lab, and on the blog on Discount Cardstock, and changing that around and testing different things like that. You may have heard, I'm sure you've got emails from all the different gurus sending Tim Atkinson's viral traffic super optimizer thing or whatever earlier this week, which was to take one plugin that solves all the different plugins solutions. We chose not to take that route. We have individual plugins for different things we want because we don't want one thing to do everything. So I'll probably put together a plugin list for WordPress for our Platinum members as well. I've been wanting to do that for some time now, and it's just that I've been going through and testing some new plugins that I haven't been using for a while. We also have a new product coming out probably in 2 weeks for buckets.
Oh yeah, dude, that product's rad. If Kevin would get off his butt and actually create it, it's awesome.
It's hard for me to understand, so I can just imagine what it's going to be like for them. But there's been a site that I've been using their WordPress plugin for some time now. It's a site called btbuckets.com. And what it does is it allows you to behavioral target content on sites. And so the easiest way to integrate it is a WordPress widget. And so what it allows me to do is actually display different widgets or different content, and display different widgets based on where that traffic is coming from. So with BT Buckets, with the WordPress plugin, if I have that running on my WordPress site, and I go into the widgets, I can actually say, for Facebook traffic, show this widget. For Twitter traffic, show this widget. For YouTube traffic, show this widget. If it's coming from search, for this keyword, show this widget. I can actually show all different types of content on my sidebar based on where that traffic's coming from. It's huge. Or even doing it geographic. So if you're in the local market, if they're coming from this suburb, well, I don't know if the suburbs will work. It's based on IP address for the geographic targeting. But you can actually, so if it's coming from Salt Lake City, or if it's coming from Provo, if the ISPs are in those geographic areas, they're fine. If it's for traffic inside of Utah versus outside of Utah, I can show different information. So let's say I'm doing an event here in Salt Lake City. If I'm speaking at an event, I can actually, if the person visiting the page, because they came from Facebook or whatever, we're doing searches, they ended up finding Gurus for Hire, I could actually show a promotion for that local event because they're here in Utah.
It's pretty high level stuff.
Yeah. And it's free up to a certain number of impressions, and I mean the impressions is a pretty high number.
But it's being able to actually manage through it, muddle through it, and that's why we're going to create if all goes well, we're creating a custom plugin that makes the process a little bit more easy and manageable.
Yeah, and their interface is very similar to if this, then that. Where did we cover that? We covered that through something.
Yeah.
We talked about IFTT.com, if this, then that. The interface is very similar, where you can actually chain multiple events within there, multiple criteria, and yeah, we'll be doing a training probably. What are we at? We're on the 14th. It'll probably be by the beginning of March. Hopefully, we'll do that.
Yeah.
And that's gonna be really cool. I mean, I've been sharing that. I shared it on the cruise with a few people. I shared it up in Mike Hill's group, and Mike is really interested in it. When we went through the WordPress plugins, I was like, this one does this, this one does this, this one does this, and this. And this one's a complete game changer. This one is behavioral targeting. And they're like, holy crap, dude, this is awesome. Another one, if you're big into WordPress, another one that I've been talking about is called PubSubHubbub. So one of the questions that came up on one of the Facebook groups that I'm on was about, what plugins do you use for a ping list, or which ping list do you use, or different things like that. There's actually been a technology that Google has been working on for years, and it's out there, and it's been quietly used by all kinds of sites. Huffington Post uses it, Gowalla uses it. All these different Web 2.0 sites use this technology to broadcast new changes automatically. And it's called PubSubHubbub. It's like the worst name that you could ever give. It's a protocol, but basically, it really replaced RSS feeds several years ago because it's a push process. So the way RSS feed, I mean, you probably know what an RSS feed is based on WordPress or Blogger. You have an RSS feed or an add-in feed on Blogger. Um, it's a pull process. So I need to subscribe to that RSS feed like through Google Reader to get that information. The way PubSub works is actually a push process. Anytime I publish, just like WordPress is pinging the ping directories, just when I publish, it's going to go out and it's going to signal out to a hub. So I'm a publisher, I'm a pub, and I'm going to send the signal out to a hub. Well, sites like Google and Friendster and Google Reader itself is actually subscribing to those sites. 6apart is another one that both publishes and subscribes. So in my testing, when I tested this, I published on my blog at kevinhdavis.com, and within 3 minutes, the core listing for my main page for kevinhdavis.com within Google search, that post that I had made had already appeared within the search engines.
Have you given them that video?
No.
Can I hold your feet to the fire that you make that video by tomorrow for them?
It's Valentine's Day. Dude.
I said by tomorrow. Tomorrow.
We'll probably be working on discount card stock tonight for Valentine's Day. But yeah.
Okay, did you guys hear
I'll do
that?
it. I'll do it. If I don't do it tonight, I'll do it tomorrow.
I know, that's what I said, tomorrow.
Yeah.
So publicly, there was like 200 I don't know.
No.
Like there's there's 49 people on here right now. And so publicly Kevin said he's going to shoot a video and show you guys how to do that.
PubSub. Yep.
And it's awesome. So
And it's a zero configuration plugin. It's really easy.
yeah.
But I'll also we'll actually do a blog post with that up on Social Traffic Lab.
Awesome. Hey, we're stoked. We've got more. Yeah, Scotland. It's 11:59 p.m. tomorrow. Sounds just like turning in papers or taxes or stuff like that. I've been to the post office next to the airport on April 15th before.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I've done it. I know what it's like. Okay. Awesome. Well, we want to thank all the new members that have joined Platinum, and all of you guys. Really grateful to have you here. If you do have more questions, let us know. As far as that
PubSub.
it'll either go into the Facebook group or
I'm actually going to do a blog post to it.
okay, blog post.
We need to be doing more blog posts.
Okay. So honestly, there you go. And I'm gonna put Scott in a virtual headlock with his yo mama jokes, and there we go. So anyone else that is on the fence, socialtrafficlab.com/OSG, and really grateful to see all the new members. We will add you to the Facebook group. All you just need to do is request your membership there, and you guys are set. Thanks for the webinar, being with us today, and I think we're just going to end it right now.
Cool.
Thank you, guys.